Hello, hello, and welcome back to Tea Coffee Water. I am your host, Natalie Poindexter, and you guys are in for another treat with our water series with Leanne. And we are talking disruption, your authentic self, embracing the new or improved or improving best version of yourself. And so I just want to say thank you for being here with us.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah, I always have fun, and I know we're gonna have a good time. And just for everyone listening, watching, we are doing back-to-back episodes. So this is the first time we've done this, and maybe not the last. But there was a piece that I know you wanted to highlight and capture when we were talking about tapping into your superpowers. And I wanted to give you that space because, as I always say with any guest on this show, is like, this is just as much your space as it is mine. And being authentic and creating tables, like here at the table, and we want to hear your voice. So please, like, if you want to give like a little preview of what we captured, if you haven't listened to tapping into your superpowers, you can get a little overview of what we covered and then give us the whatever that is, the
Okay, so in tapping into your superpowers, we really kind of covered, well, we talked a lot about the haka, right?
Mhm.
Um, from Aotearoa, New Zealand, and the Maori culture. And I had another couple of things that I wanted to talk about in tapping into your superpowers, because the main thing I introduced was, sense of style, which, we both had a lot to say on that,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
So the other couple of things I wanted to talk about superpowers. One is my voice,
Mm.
my speaking voice.
Hmm.
I never realized, it's only recently that I've realized that people respond to my speaking voice.
Mm.
And my other half jokes about my ASMR voice, right? Um, so there's layers of that, right? So there's the tonality, the timbre, how I speak, and then there's also the accent, right?
Mm.
So which you've also touched on.
Hmm.
Which, apparently there was some study, I think it was a couple of years ago, where they talked about, the sexiest accent. And the Kiwi accent came up the top, and I'm thinking, get the fuck out of here. Excuse me. It's like I keep
You're allowed
swearing on
to.
these episodes. It's really bad.
No,
People are
you.
going to think I've got a complete potty mouth,
It's
I don't
okay.
swear all the time, trust me. Um, but yeah, it just seems appropriate to underline what I'm saying, to emphasize what I'm saying. So, pardon me, those people that don't like swearing, but yeah, I'm just emphasizing my point by using a swear word. Um, so yeah, I was thinking, really? The Kiwi accent? Sexy?
Yeah.
What? No. Right. So, and here's another thing, right? Because this is where embracing your authentic self, because it's like,
Mm.
well, because I've grown up with it and
Yeah.
that's, where I've come from, it's not sexy to me.
It's normal.
Just like yeah.
Yeah.
Because they say familiarity breeds contempt.
Mm.
And it's so true. Because it's not
Hmm.
until you come
Hmm.
out and go into the world
Yeah.
that you realize the value and how people love I guess the exotic
Mhm.
sound of your voice or touching on, superpower and authenticity. The other thing I realized, excuse me, is being from New Zealand. Like, I'd be in London and people say, "Oh, where are you?" Well, the clued up people would say, where are you from? New
Mm,
Zealand or Australia
mm,
or New Zealand. The
mm-hmm,
ignorant people would say, oh, so where are you from in Aussie? Right? And then, I'll go, okay, let me just hit you now
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
because there's a
mm-hmm.
world of difference between the two. Um, and yeah, so the clued up people would say, oh, so where are you from? Are you
Mm-hmm,
from Aussie or New Zealand? And then I'd tell them that, I'm from New Zealand. So what are
mm-hmm.
you doing here?
Oh.
New Zealand is so beautiful. And I said, yeah,
Mm-hmm,
yeah, it is. It is
mm-hmm,
heaven on earth. I mean, they call it God zone, and there is a reason because
mm-hmm.
it is stunning. The country is stunning, but you
Yeah.
don't really realize how stunning the country is. And I'm talking topographically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at the top of the north, you've got all the white sand, kind of tropical beaches. And
Yeah.
at the bottom of the south, you've got mountains, and people come here
Mm.
to ski, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
you've got the Southern Alps runs all the way through the South Island.
Wow.
Beautiful mountains, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I didn't appreciate until I went that,
Mm.
coming from New Zealand was a thing to be mm, something people aspire to come
Yes.
and live here. Even you just touched on it in the
Yes.
previous episode, right?
Yes.
People aspire to come and live where I grew up.
Yes.
One of the my colleagues, um, his wife, who I met and we, spent time, her job was actually travel writer,
Mm.
right? So when I was spending time with her, I said, "Oh, so I'm really interested. Where is the best place you've been to?" Because, she's traveled all over the world.
Yes.
And she said, okay, this is not because you come from there, but it's New Zealand. I said,
Mm.
get out of here, really? She said, yeah. I said, oh,
Wow.
wow. Right. It's like, wow. Okay. And then the next layer, and this is the last part of my answer to your question, is coming from a Pacifica, which is the collective term kind of used to refer to all the people from the Pacific Islands.
Mm-hmm.
So they say Pacifica and Maori in New Zealand, to
Okay.
refer to all the um, Polynesian people. Some people don't associate with that terminology, Polynesian, but it's convenient for people to know what I'm talking about when I say
Sure.
Polynesian. So I didn't realize how mm, rich and deep
Mm.
my
Mm.
Samoan culture
Okay.
and the Maori culture
Yeah.
are in comparison, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I was in a show that my friend produced called Ngafa. So Ngafa means like ancestry
Okay.
in Samoan.
Okay.
And he did this show and it was to celebrate the 50 years of India, right? So
Mm.
we went through German occupation, then the English, and then New Zealand.
Okay.
Um, so I invited a load of my work colleagues to the show.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the girls at the end of the show, afterwards when you're having drinks and, post-show celebrations, she looked at me and she goes, "Wow, Leanne, you've really got culture." And I said,
Interesting.
and I said, "Yeah,
That's a very interesting statement to make.
right." I was
Yeah.
thinking, hmm. The other thing is, I have ta traditional motifs. The tato on my forearms.
Mm-hmm.
One is from the male tato, which is the pea, and the female tato, which is called the malu, right? So these both take their cue from the traditional tattoo, which are actually on the body, right? On
Mm-hmm.
further down on the body. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to go into the details, but
Sure.
suffice to say that this is a unbroken cultural tradition for thousands of years in Samoa, which I didn't know
Mm,
until I went to the Maritime Museum in London, in Greenwich,
mm.
for a tattoo exhibition
Interesting.
because I was interested in, the history of tattoo. So I went to this exhibition,
Hmm.
and as I walked in there, what's the first thing I see? All of my peeps, right? And our tattoo tradition. I'm going,
Yes.
because as growing up,
Hmm.
I watched my cousin getting his traditional better on
Hmm.
the kitchen floor, the living room floor, which is how they did things in New Zealand because they
Hmm.
weren't in Samoa. With the tufonga, a very famous tufonga, Palo Suluape. So he is passed now, but he's a legend in the,
Mm.
Samoan and even I would say Polynesian tattooing, tradition and community.
Yes.
So, I grew up as a kid, over at my cousins and my cousin's on the floor getting his tattoo, it's like very painful because it
Hmm.
gets tapped in, right? It
Yes.
gets tapped in
Yes.
and you have someone stretching the skin and tapping it in. So anyway,
Mhm.
um, I'd never thought that this was anything
Oh,
particularly special.
yeah, because it was the norm. It was what everybody
Yeah.
did, at least in your
Well,
community space.
it's what I grew up with. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I go into this history of tattoo, and I'm going, oh my God. But of course, Tatau, Tatau, is where the word tattoo comes from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm.
So embracing your authentic self, it's like it's almost I had to go halfway across the world to where my mother's from,
Mm.
right? To actually learn the uniqueness and value of the culture that my father is from.
Wow. Wow. I I don't even know how to put that perplexity into words of embrace, like again, embracing your superpowers, right? Like that experience within itself, I feel like is what develops and creates and curates and cultivates these superpowers, right? And then you don't even realize that it is a superpower until you leave or until someone points it out, right? Or whatever it might be. And you're like, oh shit, for real? Like, huh,
Right, right.
you you're serious, and it's just this moment of like, I sat in it for so long that I didn't realize how powerful it was.
Yeah. So here's my question to you.
Mm.
Have you had a similar revelation of something that was just everyday to you, and then someone reflected back to you, actually, this is something quite special?
Yeah, you know what I think it is? I will never forget someone said to me, Natalie, you have the gift of gab.
I would agree.
And the scenario of why it was said was very interesting. So I was a lifeguard and we were all on break, and this human, this man, he walks in, he is appearing to be homeless, he has a bag, and this was a huge indoor pool. So we had showers, it was warm, all of those things, right? And so they're like, nose goes, I'm not going to go talk to him. And I was like, that's shady. Like, let's just go talk to him. We probably know he wants to go take a shower,
Yeah,
whatever, right? And
yeah.
so, I go out there and I talk to this guy. And I don't remember all of what he was saying to me, but he just wanted someone to be kind to him.
Yep.
And I mean, it was seemingly like 10 minutes later. Like, and this guy had told me, I don't want to falsify his story, but I mean, it wasn't like he wasn't living an easy life. And he was, but the thing that I thought was just so pulls at who I am at my core. He just wanted to take a shower,
Yeah.
but he felt like he needed to persuade me to believe he was a good human, a good person, a good citizen, to just take a shower. And so I'm like, dude, just clean up after yourself. You know, don't leave a mess, please. And take as long as you want. There's soap in there, you know, do you need a towel? And he's like, no, I have stuff in my, I have stuff in my bag and those kind of things. And I went back in to this space, and we were probably in our like late, early 20s, maybe at this point, late teens, early 20s. And this other person said to me, what was he talking to you about? And I was like, do you just needed somebody to talk to? Now, fast forward 5 years later, I'm an EMT, and I'm meeting people in their emergency medical technician, and I'm meeting people in their worst. And sometimes all they really just needed was somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
And I think had I not, and I think back to what she said to me, and I was like, it's kind of like a petty jab of, you have this gift of gab, right? It was like a sassy moment, like, oh, anybody will just come talk to you, right? And I'm like, yeah, but not everybody listens.
That's right.
And that's the gift.
Oh my God, you're right. It should be renamed the gift of the ear rather than the gift of the gab.
Yeah. Because if someone could just talk nonsense, I don't want to, pick out certain people or anything like that, but like some people could just talk, but they never stop to listen. And that, I think, I didn't really want to own that at first. I don't want to say I was ashamed, but I just didn't want to own it. I didn't want to embrace that as a superpower. And so, yeah, it was, and I think it's been something that even in my work now as a consultant, people say like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, I listen.
2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
And I feel like, at least for me, that transitions into, and please like guide me back if we're moving beyond, but being a disruptor and even being comfortable in being a disruptor. I don't know if you were in the session with Meet the World's Women, where one of the ladies said, I've always been called a pot stirrer or an agitator.
Oh, I'm not sure. Maybe not.
Okay. And it was very interesting because she was and she's in Canada, and a couple of other women joined in as well and said like, oh, the same thing. And I was like, well, if you think about the words that you're being called, right? Pot stirrer. Well, if you don't stir the pot, then your food sticks and burns, and now you don't have anything to eat. If you don't agitate something, then you might not shake, like, thinking of the medical world, like if you don't shake up the bottle of medication, it could kill somebody, right? Like there's an agitation that happens for a reason. And as a disruptor, it's just this like sexy, and I'm pinging on your project manager brain at the, experience, in that like project management is such a sexy term now, and everyone wants to, oh my gosh, yes.
Is it?
PMPs in the US are making like good 6 figures. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
Sorry.
I realized that, people can make really good money in project management, but I didn't realize it was sexy.
Oh yeah, it's like a thing now. When I say sexy, I mean like everyone says public health now. Or like everyone says health equity and social determinants of health. But I don't know that they really know what it means. Like, I don't really know that everyone knows what a project manager does.
Do you know what we do?
Handhold everyone to get through from start to the finish line.
Pretty much. Yeah. The people, it's managing
Yeah.
people and finding solutions. So you're a person that is always troubleshooting, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's the people, and it
Yeah.
usually is.
Mm-hmm.
Troubleshooting the things and the stuff is
Mm-hmm.
actually really the easy part of the job. The harder part of the job is troubleshooting all the human dynamics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, I think it's just funny. I'll you no, I won't go down that train because that's petty. But I know we're again talking about embracing our authentic self, and I think
Yeah.
too, right, of like unlocking certain superpowers. Sometimes it does take time
Yeah.
to realize, right? Just about your like your experience, right? Like you didn't realize you were going searching for a thing that you had right in front of you.
So I'm now going to build the connection between those two things, right?
Love it. Yes.
Embracing authentic self in the project management world.
Mm.
Like I said in the previous episode, I actually brought my friend Carl and his people in to work with the project management consultants that I was working with. So, just to give the context, the consultancy I worked in was a niche consultancy in London, and they called themselves a family business and a business family, which I loved, right?
Okay.
And we would have shine evenings every month or couple of months,
Mhm.
depending on, how busy we were. And it was a chance for all of the consultants to come together because you're usually based in your client offices, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So we would have a shine event
Okay.
and you could bring things to the shine event. So guess what I brought to the shine event?
Yeah.
I brought the Maori culture to the Shine event
Mhm.
as a team building, and
Mhm.
because we're not together, it's really great to have something to build a feeling of this business family, right?
Yeah.
So Carl and his people actually came twice.
Mm.
The first time was to talk people or to teach people about the pepeha, which I kind of, you know, did my version of it
Sure.
in our
Sure.
first episode, which is the
Yes.
introduction, the
Mhm.
mountain, the river,
Mhm.
and the canoe, right?
Mhm.
So that was the first session. The second session was that Live built the company Haka based on the values.
Mm.
And that's embracing my authentic self, right? Because those are my kind of my roots of the land where I was nurtured, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
the Maori culture. Yeah. So, and I would do things like, because I'm into like spiritual things. So I would take my Tibetan singing bowl
Mhm.
and I would ring the bowl and get people to close their eyes, and then I would, start my presentation because I'd get them to go into themselves
Yeah.
and, be fully present
Mhm.
for whatever the presentation was.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's kind of like making the connection between, where I'm from and embracing your authentic self and bringing it
Yeah.
into the corporate space because there's definitely a place for it because the majority, so there's this saying, right? People like to do business with people they like,
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
how do you know if you like somebody if you're
Yeah.
not actually seeing their authentic self?
Yeah.
And if we're not creating environments where authenticity is celebrated and encouraged.
Yes.
At
Yes.
the moment, I feel like we're in a world where we're kind of attempting it, but we're not there. We're not there
Mhm.
yet because we're still in the world of projecting
Yeah.
it, not being it.
Yeah. And I feel like that also leads into, being you truly disrupted that space.
Some people thought I was a bit cuckoo, but yes, yes,
But they still went along with it, right? Like they were
yeah,
like, this
yeah.
isn't the normal
Leanne
thing
being
we
Leanne, yeah.
do. Yes, it's just who she is. So
Yeah.
everybody close your eyes and behave
Yeah.
yourself. We're gonna do what we do. And then,
Mm.
but I can guarantee that that impact that you left will be
Well, it's
unforgettable.
interesting. Oh, yeah, it's interesting because the Haka event, one of my colleagues, bless her, she sent me a text message that same evening on her way home, and she said, Leanne, oh my God, I just
Mm,
wanted to thank you. She said, I thought tonight was just going to be like a bit of fun, you know? And she said,
mm.
but I've come away from it just profoundly moved,
Wow. Wow.
which I was like, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. And again, I think, I don't know when we go into this piece, but like
Mm.
I f- I feel like one of the things I say in my business world is that I want to leave my consulting group, whoever I'm working with, my client, better off than when I found them.
Mhm.
And I don't mean that just from like the product or services I'm providing to them. I truly mean them, right? Like I want to, and I talk about this as like the Poindexter effect, right? Like it is truly the thing, intentionally or unintentionally, that I end up giving to a person, right? And it's like that moment where you receive that text message
Yeah.
where you don't even realize that your gift, your superpower came through simply by you disrupting a space and being your authentic self.
Yeah, just by being me. It's
Yes.
nothing, it wasn't an effort.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's the case for every single person. It's not like I'm particularly special, right?
Mhm,
It's like
mhm.
every single person, if you just if you just be you,
Yeah.
and that's all that's required.
Mm. Oh, I'm gonna throw this for a little wrench because I'm like looking at
Okay.
our notes, right? And um we gave our little mic drop moment to everyone to let them know that we're pitching a panel session for South by Southwest 2024. And we're talking about, embracing your authenticity, incorporating love into your space and conversation and your life, truly, right? And I remember, and this is like a like a relevant conversation right now. Again,
Hmm.
new disruptive, sexy terms. Where we had this, what, like three,
Disruptive, sexy. Oh, I like that.
yeah,
Hmm.
right. I'm just gonna make
Hmm.
up stuff constantly. Um, and we had like what, like a 3 hour conversation that then led into like WhatsApp voice notes that led into um this massive email that you sent, and you were like, okay, get prepared for what we're about to meet and talk about. And I was like, oh my God, what did she send me? Right. All I see is like wowzers or something like that in the
Yep.
subject
Yep.
line. I'm like, okay. And in my mind, I'm thinking, how the hell are we going to merge this? Like, I'm trying to like, I don't know. I don't know how to like in my mind, right? I'm trying to take your vision, my vision, make it a thing. And you were like, funny thing, I used Chat GPT. Hopefully I said that sexy enough. If not, it probably sounded really creepy. But the thing that you brought that was developed and created, two things. One, it took my vision, passion, desire, your vision, passion, and desire, and it took content, it took direction, it took um redirection, right? And it is Chat GPT, okay, just so everybody's following with us with what I'm saying here. But what it created was the vision that we wanted to mash together.
Yeah.
And one of the things you had mentioned previously was like the old way of media is dead. and we
Yeah.
have to change how we do things. And so, we're on this train of like Chat GPT, and everyone thinks that robots are going to take AI, it's going to take everyone's job. And I'm circling this all to say, when we're talking about shifting, changing conversations, building tables, authenticity, love, your what you always say, your artwork is your heart work.
That's right. Yeah. Fuck the hard work. It's time for heart work.
Yes, yes. And I'm curious, to everyone out there that has this mentality, right, that Chat GPT is going to steal everyone's jobs. When you plugged all of that in to Chat GPT, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was it did you think that was going to like come out of it?
That's really interesting because I had I'd literally just started probably about 4 weeks beforehand, started having a little play with ChatGPT
Mm-hmm.
because like for those of you who are astrologically inclined, I'm a double Aquarian. So Aquarians are known in the astrology world as the aliens and the rope. Yeah, exactly. So I thought, okay, let me go and investigate. Let me go see what this ChatGPT is all about and
Yes.
started plugging some stuff in there. And then again, another shout out to Meet the World's Women and Maxine Cunningham and,
Mhm.
the Pick My Brain
Yes.
community.
Yes.
As part of our Meet the World's Women, Max brought in a person to talk to us about, AI and ChatGPT. Now, while I missed the session, I
Mhm.
actually got like the Cliff's notes that were shared in WhatsApp.
Mhm.
And what I did is pulled together mine and Natalie's notes that we'd shared with each other and just gave ChatGPT the context and said, if you were to, produce a panel, tell
Mhm.
me what that would look like. And
Yeah.
then for anyone who's used any of the, AI generators, you'll know that it just goes boom, boom, and there it is.
Yep.
And what I wasn't prepared for was just how on point it was. And it was and
Mhm.
inspiring, not just on point, but it was really inspiring what it came out with. And that is because it was
Yes.
inspiring, which didn't come from the robot or the machine. It
Mm-mm.
came from us. And to circle the conversation back round, AI cannot replace the human heart and
Mm-mm.
what the human heart is capable of.
Yeah.
And the human heart has an enormous amount of power, much more than the mind.
Mhm.
And that is something that AI can never, ever, ever replace.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
Right?
Yes. Yes. I feel like that is, everything that's new, right? We're always like, oh, this is terrible. This is awful. It's going to be bad. It can't be good, right? Like that like, mm, I don't want to say scarcity versus abundance mindset, but almost like that. It's that fixed mindset. It's a fixed mindset. It's not willing to be challenged or change or transform. It's like, nope, this is how we do things. This is always how we do things. We're
Well,
going to keep doing them.
it's all in the application, isn't it? So
Mm-hmm.
you and I had this conversation. So this may not be popular, but Adolf Hitler, I mean,
Mm.
genius, absolute
Interesting
genius,
conversation.
right?
Yes,
Right?
yes.
So I've always thought this about him, and I was saying this to Natalie yesterday, I mean, the guy, a brilliant mind and, able to persuade people to
Mm-hmm.
this notion of a master race of blonde hair, blue eyed. And the man himself didn't have blonde hair or blue eyes, and
Yeah.
everyone bought it hook, line, and sinker. Now
Yes.
imagine if he'd been able to use that amazing superpower
Mhm.
for good.
Yeah. Oh my
right? So
gosh.
it's the same
Yeah.
thing with AI. It's all in how you use it.
I I know we've never talked about this, but I just wonder, like, can we do a session where we load in to Chat GPT or OpenAI resources that if it would give us theories, I don't know if it can even I don't even know if it can create theories of if Adolf Hitler used his superpowers for good, what would he have done? Right? Like, I mean, we could go huge, right? Like cure cancer, world peace, end hunger, right? Like, I don't know. I'd be really interested to
I
see, I don't know. Maybe
think
that's just my brain.
I think it could have been quite limitless because if you're able to persuade a whole population
Yeah.
to to an ideal,
Hmm.
right, that you don't even meet or match,
Correct. Correct.
right?
Correct.
Imagine what he could have persuaded people. I mean, imagine if he was on YouTube as an influencer.
Mm. Mm-hmm. 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 And
But
in
doing it for good, not
that
for bad
massive
stuff.
amount of people for good, right? For good, like
Yeah.
mass, I mean, like countries, yeah, literally like starting a revolution
Hmm.
for good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would be, I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
Love is my religion, revolution. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what Chat GPT would come up with, or if like maybe that's like something we tinker around with at some point. But I would just be curious, right? Of like, can it can it give us some theory, or would it, like, I don't
Well,
know,
may
major malfunction and break down?
well, maybe we do go and tinker and then we'll come back and report back and tell you guys what it gave us.
Yes,
And
I would
whether it's a
love to.
whole bobbins or
We'll do a little
or
mini
something that makes
episode.
sense.
Yeah, it'll be like, in case you listened to our unusual conversation of this idea, check
Mm.
in right here. We'll do a little mini
Yeah.
episode on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Good,
Yeah.
bad, and ugly, all in between. Yeah. And you can, I can only imagine what the comments section will be upon that revelation. But, I think the other piece that you maximized on is being able to, and we've talked about this in like on a different conversation of, you know, um, leading with your heart,
Mhm.
tapping into your yin,
Mhm.
um, moving away from that masculine dominant business way of doing things. And I know we're in the water section, but we're both business women. And so, like, being able to relate all of this back, right, to using technology, which is typically very masculine,
Masculine. Yeah.
right? Using this robotic structure, very masculine, to
Mhm.
then create this feminine.
Feminine. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Isn't it cool?
Yes, right. And it's just like women here in the US are leaving corporate in droves.
Mm.
Droves. We're tired, right? Like the glass ceiling, it's not really glass, it's like a slap in the face.
Concrete. It's
Yeah.
concrete. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you're just ramming your head into it, and you're like, at the point of insanity, right? Because if you just continuously do the same thing over and over and over again, is the definition of insanity. But you just like, oh, it has to be better. And you've said this to me. It's, you have this theory that it's always greener on the other side. When I'm like, oh, Mary, full of grace, let's move to New Zealand to save us all, right? Like, and you're like, well, maybe not, right? Also, I'm not Catholic, so I don't really know why that was. Anyways, I digress. Again, this is episode 2 back to back on sleep deprived Natalie. But I say all of that to say, like, as a businesswoman and moving into that founder CEO role, which again is typically dominated, CEOs are typically cisgender white men,
Mhm.
and changing the narrative,
Yeah.
disrupting the conversation, embracing your femininity, right? And not doing that I must, 90s Hillary Clinton, wear my pantsuits and have my short hair, and I must present as stoic, mannish, right? Woman, but still very much woman, right? Like, yeah, like that whole, I can't be myself because I have to present differently to be accepted. And I mean, I share about my business journey, but I would love to hear more about your business journey of going from that very linear project management brain to like truly in art and healing lane and lens. What made you like shift? Because that's a huge, I mean, in my opinion, again, but I feel like all project managers are extremely creative, immediately looking for an outlet. is, is that
Yeah,
it?
100% agree. Yeah, I just want to make a note though before I
Like,
go into that. When we are talking about masculine and feminine, we are not talking about men and women
mhm.
because everyone has masculine and feminine as within them and as a balance, and which is why I use yin and yang as well, just so that people don't misinterpret what
Okay.
I'm referring to when I say masculine and feminine. I'm talking about the masculine and feminine vibration within each of us. I'm
Mm,
not talking about women and I'm not talking about men, just
mm.
to get that really super clear.
Yes. Okay. Thank
Um,
you. Yeah.
yeah. So, yes, project managers or people in project management, so many creative people in there, right?
Yeah.
So, in a project team that one of the guys he would make little craft hammers, right?
Really?
He would he made the craft hammers. He wasn't doing the crafting, but he made the hammers for
Uh-huh.
crafting. So that was the most like niche, obscure
Yeah.
creativity that I ever came across on a project.
Mm.
Many people were like, in either in bands, right? A lot of band members I've come across in project teams, um, singers, artists actually, creating artwork, photographers, like really like gifted photographers.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
project management is full of creative people, right?
Mm.
And that is
Mhm.
because a project is a creation, you know. You
Mm.
have a definite a beginning and a definite end, and at the end of it, you actually have created something. It
Mhm.
is a creative endeavor by its very definition,
Mm.
right? And that's
Yeah.
I feel that's why there's a lot of creative people are drawn to project management. So for me personally, I mean, my sense of style and how I dress was always how my artistic side, was materialized in the world.
Mhm.
And I always loved, painting. I love painting with oil paints.
Okay.
And as part of my job, I was a desktop publisher at one point, one role. I was a desktop publisher, but I always, my main gift in the corporate world was actually presenting. Like I loved
Mm.
presenting and producing presentations.
Okay.
So those were my artistic outlets when I was still in the 9 to 5 world. So
Okay.
when I came out of the 9 to 5 world, I then really honed in on and I guess started to accept that I am an artist. I
Mm.
would never ever have said that about myself, not even 5 years ago.
Mhm.
I would never ever have said I'm an artist, but I am. I'm an
Mm.
artist.
Mm.
So, and arts and healing are inseparable
Yeah. Yeah.
because, I mean, art. Oh, here's a great song lyric, right?
Okay.
Art is and always has been a way for the spirit to be seen.
Mm.
And that's from a song called Remember Why You Came by Olivia Fern.
Okay. Well, definitely we can drop the link in the show notes if it's
Mm.
easily accessible. And I think too, and not I think, um, embracing your authentic self is a part of that, like leaving that 9 to 5 world, right? Of
Oh my God, yeah.
because like,
Because
yeah, go
because
ahead.
you give yourself the space
Yes,
to be you, right?
yes,
You haven't got any restrictions, or you don't have to meet any particular, you know, box or category. You can
yeah,
be your own, shape.
yes. And it feels, I said this in one of the episodes I did previously, like, it feels so good to wake up for you. I mean,
Oh my
even
God,
though you're
yeah.
waking up with like 7 hats on now, right? You're like, you're all of the things, but you're waking up and you're like, yep, yep, I know that. Well, one, I get to stop when I want to,
Yeah.
not not when I am told I can, right? I don't have this mentality of I must work through lunch because that makes me a better worker,
No, not at all.
right?
Yeah.
Which again, right, relates back to health, right? Because then you're like, oh, I've just
Mhm.
starved myself for 8 hours, or maybe longer, because I probably didn't eat breakfast because I woke up extra early to get to a meeting that wasn't actually on my calendar. But although I'm because I'm a dedicated employee, I looked at midnight to see if anything had come through so that I could be prepared for the morning.
Oh my God, Natalie, oh my God, this light is like, right. So I just wanted to say that, I was like totally that person, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
can tell you, and you've probably done this too, I have pulled all-nighters.
Yes.
So in the last year that I was in the 9 to 5 world, um, I was at work from 6 in the morning to
Mm.
9 o'clock the next morning.
Mm. Mm.
I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Because we wouldn't,
No,
yeah.
no employer is worth that.
No, no.
I know that now,
Yes.
but
Then it was literally a oh, help me with this one. Like I don't want to say like a trained, but you were um
conditioned.
thank you. Thank you. To believe that that's how you had to be. And if you weren't that way, you weren't a good employee.
It wasn't even, you know what? It wasn't even that I wasn't a good employee. It was for my own, like, I felt like I was doing an honorable thing.
Oh yeah, I meant
And
that internally. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
not from the
yeah,
work, not from the business perspective. Like in
yeah,
your own mind, you thought,
yeah.
yes, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing because this is what I should be
It's
producing.
honorable.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's from, my father's generation. It's
Yeah.
from that generation,
Yeah.
the good hard worker.
Yes.
No, you don't have to work hard. You
Mm-mm.
don't,
Mm-mm.
and
Mm-mm.
nor should you.
Mm-mm.
Work
Mm-mm. Because
hard. Yes, work hard. HEART. Work hard. Don't work hard.
no. And and I got so frustrated towards the final like decision that was made for me, right? Because I kept going back and forth. And I feel like I always say, like, my guards, guides, ancestors, and angels all I have to get like smacked in the forehead with a rock. Like they're probably like flicking things at my forehead, like as soon as I flick, it's like where you see like those little air, like those little airplane things that you
Yep,
make in a
yep.
paper, that's
Mm.
what they're doing to me. Like eventually one of these is gonna like thunk her in the middle of her forehead. And then she'll be like, ow, that really hurt. And suddenly it'll click because it can't be gentle, right? Like I'm like, no, that can't be really what I'm supposed to be doing. Let me go back and do this other thing. And then it fails miserably. And I seemingly am like relating this back to like leaving Columbus, Ohio and moving across the country to Texas.
Mhm.
It was all I knew. It was everything I knew. but nothing was going right. Nothing was going right. And then everything started going right in this place that I'd only visited once, that I knew no one in, but it felt really right. It felt good saying I was going to go do it. But I heard the noise, right? I heard the noise. You're gonna go do that? Are you sure you want to do that? I could get you a job here, right? Or like those things. That was the
Mhm.
noise. And I look at the, obviously I wasn't here very long before COVID hit and life changed, but my very brief time, I got to sit and be by myself. I did not know who authentic Natalie was.
Mhm.
I knew who I thought I needed to show up to be. Uh, but the healing part hadn't taken place because I just kept putting myself back into this thing, this wheel, right? Of like, well, maybe if I jump in this time, I can't double dutch, but maybe if I'm like jump in this time, I won't get smacked by the jump rope, right? Or that wheel. Maybe if I jump faster, I won't get spun off the wheel. And it really was healing allowed me to be able to say, no, I'm a disruptor. Like as a healed version of me, yeah, I'm a
Mhm.
disruptor. Yeah, this is who I am. But I'm saying all of this because it wasn't like a true healing process, like a physical healing process. This was like a spiritual and psychological healing process that I had to go through.
Yeah.
And I mean, relating that again back to the water, right? Like it's what we're here to talk about in this space. And I think that's even too about the business side of it, right? Of what we take in as founder CEOs, what we establish our processes and our business with. It's what will then manifest through all of the folks that work for us in the future and all of
Yes.
these things.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is my like roll up into pick Leanne's brain of when we're having when we're having these. I thought that was so funny. Having these moments of re-educating how people should stop doing hard work and do heart work.
Mhm.
How how can you or how do you encourage that transformation? Or even, right, like I relate this back to when you said you go in with your Tibetan song bowl. They didn't get to ask any questions, right? Do you, like our previous episode, like you pull out the face? Do you just pull out the face, the this is not a game, you do what I say face, and then you play your sound bowl and then it happens and you go through this education practice? Like obviously you don't want to force someone to heal and transform, right? But like, how do you even begin that conversation? And I'm relating this back to like emotionally intelligent leadership.
Oh, again, it just comes back to being yourself. I was just being myself.
Mm.
So would use the singing bowl to, because sound has a vibration and it changes the vibe
Mm-hmm.
just by playing. I mean, everyone knows this because everyone listens to music.
Yeah.
And depending on what kind of music you're choosing, your vibe is going to be different. So, if you're going to put on some Prodigy compared to some Enya, they're very different vibes, aren't they?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
some Shaka Khan,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
John Baptiste, you know, they're all very different.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was just being myself, bringing in the Tibetan singing bowl. I
Mm-hmm.
also took in some, the aromatizer, where you put the essential
Yep.
oils and
Yep.
steam the room with it. I did that too.
Okay. Okay. And they
So, you know,
love it.
multi-sensory, right? We're
Mhm.
multifaceted beings, multi-sensory. So you take all of the tools in with you. I mean,
Mm.
now I probably wouldn't even think twice about taking some tarot cards in, right?
Yes.
And they'll probably think I'm completely bonkers. But who cares? Who
Yes.
cares? No one's got time. Life is too short to be, you know, doing anything other than your truth.
Mm.
So
Hmm.
I don't know if that answered your question at all, but yeah.
It started to. So, we touched on this previously, talking about emotionally intelligent leadership being a
Mhm.
term that's used constantly now, that is like what professional
But,
development.
but what does that mean?
Oh, it means, and it's literally you're doing the heart work. They're
Right.
looking for people, right, who are capable of doing more than just being smart leaders.
Hmm.
They want people leaders, right? uh
Yeah.
and I feel like, you said like.
What I can tell you straight off
Mhm.
the bat
Mhm.
is that the people that are doing that don't actually talk about doing it. They're just doing it. And
Yes.
that's my experience, right?
Mhm.
So I was in one workplace that talked about diversity and inclusion, and I saw jack all evidence of it actually happening. Another
Mhm.
workplace didn't talk about it at all, but had it in place,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So the person had, it's a female, had her executive team
Mhm.
was diverse, truly diverse,
Yes.
and the actual workplace was inclusive. But
Mm.
she never talked about doing it.
Yeah, it was the culture
That's
of.
just how she was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. That's, I think that was what I was alluding to, right? Like, of all of these male dominated companies with leaders that are, all men. And they're obviously not going to be like, well, I don't want to say obviously, but more likely than not to shut up and shift. I keep with that. When you're having your heart work conversations with someone who really is willing to learn it, right? But doesn't get it. Do you go into a conversation of like authenticity, or do you go into a conversation of like holistic healing from a leader perspective?
I'm trying to understand the question.
Sure. So like you're theoretically, right, you're called into a corporate place.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
they're like, Leanne, we're going to manifest this. We saw your amazing South by Southwest panel. We fuck the hard work. We want the heart work.
Yep.
Come in and work with us. Come in and do
Yep.
some series with us.
Yep.
And you get in there and it's a room full of 60, 50 something year old men.
Yep.
And now you have to have this conversation with them about heart work.
Hmm.
And do you start that conversation by talking about embracing authenticity? Or do you start that conversation about healing? And I mean, when I say healing, I mean healing their mindset from this conditioned place.
So so standing, going into this theoretical situation,
Just, yeah, why not for fun?
right? What I would do first is it's always find the human connection
Mm.
first, right? So you actually do what you're saying, right? So you find the heart to heart connections in the room. So I would probably start with a pepeha because guaranteed if you start there, people will start finding the connections.
Mm,
So so to answer your question, it would always be starting from embracing authenticity first, because that exercise is about embracing your
mm-hmm,
roots,
mm-hmm.
because you're sharing your roots with everybody first.
Mm,
And that's about authenticity. And the healing comes with that, right? So by honing in on that, you're already on the road to the healing part of it that will come with it. And then I mean, I would have had to have done some prep before I even got into the room,
sure.
but music would definitely come into it somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and
Yeah.
getting them to do an exercise with music, and or it could be, you know, asking people to share their favorite song and why.
Mm-hmm.
Or, the thing I love the most as a question as an icebreaker for people that have never met each other,
Sure.
or that you're trying to get, people into their more authentic self, is what is your favorite film and why?
Mm.
Share that with everybody,
Okay. Okay.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
that's much more layered and authentic than tell everyone your name and what you do.
Yes.
Because this is not about human doing, this is about human being. So
Mm-hmm.
the why it's their favorite film is the most important part of the answer.
Mm. I asked you that intentionally because
Okay.
we talk about healing, right?
So she's going to put me to work. No, go ahead.
I'm like, actually, surprised. There's a contract I have pending right now. You're joining it. Um, no, this is truly right about the healing journey because I think about the journey I'm on, and I'm still on this journey. I'm not transformed by any measure. There's still more transforming I want to do, but healing enough was how I got to find my authentic version of myself was
Mhm.
through the healing process first. And so I think just like as I always tell everyone, like you're this badass woman from New Zealand who does like amazing holistic healing processes. Girl, I have upped your resume, little do you know. Your yeah, shaman what is gonna be like next part of that conversation. If you ever need a reference, you just call me. Just again, don't let me go on unedited because I'll come up with some good stuff. I mean, some really good stuff. Might
That's
not
all
be,
right. You come up with good stuff. I'll meet it. Don't worry. Yeah.
you just have to show up. That's it. Yeah. And that, but for me, right, like I had to go through that healing space.
Hmm.
And I had to be extremely vulnerable in my space with myself
Hmm.
to even start healing. And you mentioned previously your voice
Hmm.
and how who would have thunk, right? Like in your mind, right? Who would have thunk? Um, and
Oh
it
my
was
God, Natalie. Sorry,
yes, no, please.
you've now reminded me.
Okay, okay.
Vulnerability and voice, right? So
Mm.
one of the sessions, I actually stood up there. I never thought I'd ever do this, right? I stood up there and I sang
I love it.
on my own in front of my colleagues. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, this is where we're at. So, you know,
Go.
because and the reason I did that is because it was in the second haka session. The reason I did
Mm.
that is because I know it wasn't in that session, it was in a separate one, which I'm going to talk to you about in a minute as well.
Please, please.
Uh, so because that is the tradition in Samoan culture, in Maori culture, you always begin and end with a song.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I've only just realized now that my an instinct in answering your question is actually cultural.
Wow. I love it.
Crazy, right? And
Yes.
literally in this conversation, I've just realized, oh my God, of course.
Yes. Mm. And I mean, we talked for hours about music.
Hmm.
And I think so often we don't realize um the healing powers that music has,
Yep.
right? Because we listen to work, music to help us work out, to motivate us to get through, right? So we have
Hmm.
motivational music, right? We have
Hmm.
music when we're pissed off. We have music when we're sad. We have music when we're working, right? And it's all this I was talking to you about the frequencies, right?
I
And
was
like,
just going to say, and it's vibrating our waters,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm,
That's why it makes such a difference
yeah,
because when you look at, so there's this awesome video of like a frog call, right?
okay,
And it's doing its mating call,
sure,
and you can see it's sitting in water,
mm-hmm,
and you can see the
uh,
water vibrate, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So the same thing is happening with us when we're listening
yeah,
to music. Sound is just a frequency above matter.
mm, wow,
It's only just above matter,
mm-hmm,
sound,
mm. Kind of gives you like some, like, I don't know, tingly feelings when you like
right?
truly think about it.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, even that, even the experience when I would swim. So you can have like underwater headphones for your laps, right? And you're just in silence. You're in this abyss, which I really, if anyone is around water, take advantage of it, because submerging yourself and shutting out the noise, it's immediate. Like, you don't get, your thoughts run fluid, your focus, and you can't not focus on your breathing, right? You're
Correct.
like, there's just so many different things. And then if you add some music to it, you end up spacing out. Like, you're going through the motions, right? Your brain is doing what it's supposed to be doing, and it's driving the forward progress, and you're obviously focused on your breathing and your movement, but you're like, it's like sensory deprivation meets vibration. And it's just such a,
Do you know what I'm going to call it? I'm going to call it sensory acclimation
mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
because being in that water is so natural and taking us back to where we were in our own mother's wombs,
yes, yes,
right?
yes,
So it's sensory acclimation because we're acclimatizing to our natural, um, where we naturally came from, the waters of
yes,
our mother's womb. And
yes,
then also, even though we don't realize it, we're swimming in the waters of the ethers all the time. And I don't think I've mentioned this already, but it's like, in Samoa, you have the concept of the va,
okay,
which is the active space between everything and everyone. There's space, but it's not empty, it's active. So
mm,
if you think of the air as a type of ocean, also, you know,
yes,
so where
yes.
my hands are going through, I'm moving my hands, by the way, those who are
Mhm.
listening. Um, my hands are actually moving through an ocean of active space.
Mhm. Mhm.
But because we don't spend enough time with our eyes closed
Mhm.
and just breathing in that active space, we could do that and get the exact same effect as when we go underwater and are swimming underwater.
Mhm.
All we have to do is give ourselves the time and
Mhm.
space to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if it was this one where you mentioned, sometimes when you just um lay there and close your eyes. and the and I forget exactly how you mentioned it, but um it's sometimes when you're just like running, you're constantly on, you're doing, or something like that. And you collapse and you just shut out. If you're at that point where, and I feel like sometimes too, right? It comes very quickly. But if you allow it to be there, you get this like almost rocking feel. I don't
Mm.
know if I'm explaining that right, but you're laying there with your eyes closed and you're just there. You're not your brain is tired. It's too tired to think about anything. And so when you were explaining that, right, like that there's this flow, this energy, this activity that's happening, and you almost just let it like cocoon you in a way.
Yes, just like the ocean does. Yeah.
It feels almost like you are moving.
Mm.
It's very interesting. I don't know if you've ever had that experience where you just like, yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're vibrating. You're basically you're sitting in your own resonance,
Mm,
right? So it's like there's a resonance when you are still. So yes, you are still, your energetic body is still resonating and communicating and in communion with the active space, the Va,
mhm,
all the time.
mm,
But very rarely are we quiet enough to sense it.
mm. I wanna end with this experience that we just recently went through, which was my, as we mentioned in the intro, my kick in the pants moment with Leanne. And I had I had given you these brilliant ideas, and I was just like, yes, well, I'm going to navigate it. But then I was like, yes, and I'm like, well, I'm actually going to think about it a little longer. And I was searching for this community, for this cohort, for this network, for this space, and I'm like, well, if there's not this one, then there's this one. And if there's not that one, then there's this thing. And the thing, the kick in the, as I said, my guides have to dunk me in my forehead. My thumping in the forehead moment with Leanne was, which is kind of strange that I refer to you as though you're not in this space with me. Work with
No
me here.
problem.
Work with me. Is why are you looking for something that you already have in you? And I didn't realize the magnitude of what you had said until I sat in it.
Right.
And I think, like, for everyone that's listening, when you can have someone, one, you respect someone enough to let them thump you in the forehead, right? But also, you also have this, like, no, pish posh. I'm not going to throw it out the window. Like, what does she know, right? It's this moment of like, okay, let me sit and reflect in it. And then you start to activate it. And then you start to realize, like, when I say activate, right, you start to truly believe it. And I didn't know the healing that was happening in just that revelation. And so, yeah, I think the piece of me sharing that was sometimes you have to sit in like somebody might give you a massive nugget of good, of love, of dedication, right? Of all of these really wonderful feminine energy feeling things, right? Um this thing that ignites you. And sometimes you just have to sit in it to embrace it, to understand the magnitude of what was given to you, what was shared with you, and then be willing to have that internal conversation of how am I going to receive this? And I think just like what you were saying previously of we have to be quiet because it's there. It's there, but we just have to be quiet enough to hear it, to feel it, to receive it, to flow with it. And yeah, I mean, I don't know the whole point behind me saying that other than like, thank you for creating this space with me to even go on a healing journey while we're creating this podcast.
Interesting, isn't it? It's interesting how it's panning out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean I know we have like 3 more episodes of what we have thus far planned.
Mhm.
But it's beyond that, right? Like it's gonna be way beyond that. Um and then even just bringing in other folks to have this water conversation with us.
That would
Um,
be awesome.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh, yes. And of course, I'm going to bring Troy in so that we can do a water tea mashup and just cut up for some fun. Um,
Awesome.
and then allude to our bourbon exhibit that'll be happening. And I can, oh gosh, I
Okay.
for that one. Uh, here I'll say this, and we're about midway. By the way, we're about midway through all of these episodes that are happening within Tea Coffee Water, and I had given myself a number of episodes. I was like, oh, I've got to get to this number of things, and who knows, it could be next episode that I'm like, surprise. But someone had said to me, you should have like an after dark, right? Like a bourbon conversation. And so y'all, I'm immediately like, ooh, Leanne, let me tell you about this thing that I got today. I got this little nugget. And then her response was, I love bourbon.
Yep. That's my hard drink of choice. So, I don't drink, I'm not really a beer drinker.
Mm-hmm.
I love wine. I prefer wine. And then when it's what we call the hard stuff,
Mm-hmm.
bourbon is my jam. Yeah, Jack Daniel's Special Reserve, no ice, just as it comes out of the bottle. That's me.
Like, it was just this moment. I was like, you can't be serious. Like it was just it was a very good thing, right? Of just excitement around sharing that, and then come to find out, right? Again, feeling that synergy from Austin, Texas, all the way to Melbourne. You're in Melbourne. No.
Blenheim, Blenheim,
Blenheim.
Blenheim.
Blenheim, New Zealand.
Hmm.
It was happening. And so yeah, the connectivity, the healing, the growth that is going to be happening throughout this series. Like I'm elated in this discovery, because I feel like every time we get off of one of our episodes, or even just in general, there's this other thing we found out about each other that just so happened to be a very, very relatable experience. So
Yep.
I just want to say thank you. Like, thank you for going on this journey with me.
Thank you for creating it. I'm enjoying it.
Yes. So yeah, thank you again for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the support. I will always throw Leanne's information into the show notes. If you're like, yes, I am trying to tap into my authentic self, or I am trying to tap into my yen, or I am I want to heal. I want to get on a healing journey. Please reach out. It you will not be there won't be a moment of disappointment. Every moment that I have with you, Leanne, is just, it's fantastic. So I just want to say thank you for being here with me and us. And
Thank you.
next week, oh my gosh, okay, so next week we are talking connecting, I mean, which is just like I didn't even pay attention, y'all. Again, right? Connecting conversations, connecting responsibly. And and I think the piece that I want to pull into this is when I first mentioned this to Leanne, this podcast, and I was like, girl, I thought I had it planned and I thought I knew exactly what was happening because I had to do this thing. I had to have structure. And then it kind of fell apart. And then we met and I was like, you want to be on podcast with me? That's there. And there you have it, kids. That's all, folks. So yeah, that was how we got to this space and place. And so next week we are talking connecting conversations, hashtag connecting responsibly. If you're following me on any other conversations I'm having around creating relationships and relationship building. So please join us. Stay tuned for this journey on our water series. And Leanne will be back with us again to have some more fun and inspire and probably drop some more nuggets on us. Thank y'all for listening. Have a great morning, night, day, evening, afternoon, weekend, wherever you may be in this world. Embrace your authenticity, and we'll see you next
Yes.
week.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.